All right. Joining me now is my panel to break down what we saw last night. We have political and social commentator Avis Jones-Weaver, political commentator and founder of Republican Women for Biden, Rena Shaw, and Anita McBride, former chief of staff to Laura Bush and executive in residence at American University's School of Public Affairs. We'll get into who won last night, where we go from here. But I first want to ask all of you, just briefly, how you felt watching that stage last night. Anita, I'll start with you. What was going on in your gut when you saw that?
Well, just listening to your clip again, it brought, back the PTSD that I felt last night for 95 minutes. And it was a low point in our democratic process. But I will say this, Donald Trump
is my panel to break down what we saw last. All right. Joining me now is my panel to break down what we saw last night. We have political and social commentator Avis Jones-Weaver, political commentator and founder of Republican Women for Biden, Rena Shaw, and Anita McBride, former chief of staff to Laura Bush and executive in residence at American University's School of Public Affairs. We'll get into who won last night, where we go from here. But I first want to ask all of you, just briefly, how you felt watching that stage last night. Anita, I'll start with you. What was going on in your gut when you saw that?
Well, just listening to your clip again, it brought, back the PTSD that I felt last night for 95 minutes. And it was a low point in our democratic process. But I will say this, Donald Trump helped Joe Biden, helped him a lot. There was a lot of pressure on Joe Biden to perform and show he was up to it. And he was. And he talked to the American people even over all of this noise last night.
Avis, how did you feel? A lot of people said they felt kind of sick, they felt sad, they felt embarrassed.
Well, it is embarrassing on an international scale to think that the bully, that the avowed white supremacist, I mean, after last night, there is no question whether or not we have a white supremacist in the White House, given his lack of response to that question.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah,
exactly. So on an international context, it is embarrassing, but also it is motivating. This, I believe, is really what's needed to really bring the vast majority of Americans to the polls on November 3rd, specifically to kick him out of the White House.
And Rena, another word that's being used to describe how people felt was it was frightening at times. So did President Trump or Joe Biden do anything last night to convince those suburban women that they were best suited to be president of the United States?
I am that very suburban woman that people talk about, pollsters and elected officials and candidates. I am the exact profile of what they are looking to capture my heart and mind. I live in the suburbs where I stroll a stroller around, and I have very young children whose futures I worry about, because we now know that this president is not a president for all of us. I have I've held back. I've been very, very patriotic in wishing for the success of this president. But what I saw last night, I now understand what people have been saying when they say, this is not my president. This is disgusting. This is not America. He deserves to be removed from this White House forcibly. He deserves to be in handcuffs. This man is trying to incite violence. When you hear the word stand back, I'm disgusted. I am in shock and in horror that this president does not respect the color of my skin or Avis's skin. This is not a country for white people. This is a country for all of us. There is liberty and justice and freedom guaranteed in our Constitution for all of us, not some of us. What we saw last night was a horror show, the most disgusting underbelly of U.S. politics. He does not deserve control of this country. He could not even control himself last night. President Trump must go.
We're just looking for that sound to play it back if people haven't already heard it. But I think really, as all of you point out, that is the takeaway moment for most people if you're Republican or if you're a Democrat. President Trump refusing to denounce white supremacists. Here it is again. We've got it. Let's play it.
Are you willing tonight to condemn white supremacists and militia groups?
You want to call them? What do you want to call them? Give me a name. Give me a
White
name.
supremacists and
Who would
right
you like me to condemn?
White supremacists and right
Proud
militia.
Boys, stand back and stand by. But I'll tell you what. Somebody's got to do something about Antifa and the left, because this is not a right-wing problem. This is a left-wing.
FBI director
This is a left-wing problem.
White supremacists. Antifa's an idea, not an organization.
Oh, you got to be
not
kidding.
militia. That's what his
It's an idea.
FBI director
Gentlemen,
said.
Well, then,
Anita, are you hearing from other Republicans about that exchange? How do you defend Donald Trump against him saying stand back and stand by? That's a dog whistle.
It's a clarion call. Yeah, sure. No, people are, any reasonable, person listens to that and say, if your point was to say we have violence in our country and it needs to be stopped, I get that. And Joe Biden gets that too. But that response, of course, left everyone uneasy. And, and I want to direct this to Rena too, because I know Rena, she knows me. And yes, I'm not the minority on this call. I'm a white, woman, but I would never defend a statement like that. And I don't, so I think we need to be careful as women in this country who care about our nation and working together to not somehow quietly attack each other as well. Because it's not helpful. That was a bad moment.
There's no attack. There's no attack to my fellow white Republican female friends. Never. I've never vilified a Trump supporter. I'm vilifying the president who showed us who he was last night. And any Republicans that stands by it and votes for it again is frankly just saying that they're fine with his words. And Anita, this is not about us individually anymore. This is about who we've elected to be in the White House. I didn't vote for him, and I do not support him because I saw him for who he was years ago. He's dividing us. We don't divide each other. We've worked cohesively. We've done everything we can, collaborating for years to make our party better. Where were those efforts? He's ruined it all with one swipe. In one night, he showed us that he does not believe in the great American tradition of decency.
Okay, but here's the thing.
Let me just say, I don't want to be centered around white women. Okay, let me just say that. This discussion needs to be centered around really the context of what was said last night and what it means in this nation to people of color for years, okay? We are experiencing an explosion of hate groups in this country that has happened under this presidency, specifically because that was not a unique moment. He has been dog whistling to them for years. And because of that, we now have over 1,000 hate groups in this country, the most that we have had in the entire history of this nation. We have spikes in hate crimes in this country. People are dying because of it. And so I think we need to put our attention where it needs to be. These communities that are under threat. And I think we do ourselves a disservice when we try to relay this thought that there is a false equivalency here between the right wing and the left wing with quote unquote violence. There is no equivalency here. The FBI of the United States says that the biggest threat with domestic terrorism by far in this nation is with white supremacist organizations. And we have right now an avowed white supremacist in the White House who was incapable of specifically calling them out. We knew this several years ago when he was endorsed by the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And at that time, he tried to deflect. And finally, he said, I disavow, finally, but obviously not authentically. This is who he is. This is who America is. We need to stop deflecting that. This is what America is. This is not what America has to be. The whole idea about America is that we are working towards creating a more perfect union. And we have to understand that in order to move in that direction, we have to admit the flaws that we have today and be and be about the business of perfecting those flaws. We do no one favors by suggesting that those flaws don't exist.
I must be tired. This is really upsetting. This is so upsetting. But when you look at the numbers about his supporters, and we don't know, I don't know at this point yet if the dial has moved any since last night.
Right.
But Anita, and I'll get all of your thoughts on this, is what we saw last night really going to change anything? Or is that core group of Trump supporters, that core group of Biden supporters, going to be moved at all by that 95 minutes?
Well, I think if anybody was moved, it was people to support Joe Biden more, who showed a presidential side, who showed an empathy. He looked at the camera. He talked to the American people. And debates, we asked the question yesterday, are debates important? And we all agreed that they are. And that, but their mission is to go after that narrow slice of the electorate that is not firmly in any camp yet. I can't imagine, even though the White House is trying to say that Donald Trump last night showed that he was a fighter for all American people, and that somehow explains his behavior. I can't see where any of that narrow slice would move in his direction. If anything, it would move in Joe Biden's.
So, Rena, should there be another debate? There's two scheduled. Should Joe Biden or Trump do this again? I believe it's going to be a town hall, but do the American people, are they any better off by watching these debates?
Well, last night certainly wasn't a debate. Like I said, it was a display of egos and largely the president's ego. He couldn't stop interrupting and speaking over the moderator. I mean, the moderator had no control either. This was, again, a man lacking self-control who displayed that he is, he's irate. He uses language that is dog whistles. I mean, this is unconscionable what we saw last night. So to think that we would sort of want that again, look, I just say we, the American people, deserve to see as much as possible of those who seek to lead us. So, yeah, I'm for more town halls or discussions or whatever's been scheduled. But the president needs to learn to play by the rules. Chris Wallace last night, the moderator, pointed out a couple times that his campaign had agreed to certain things, and he wasn't abiding to those things. And so it was difficult to watch, yes, but I believe that it's important for us to watch it. We have democracy in this country that has largely been transparent, perhaps not to the degree that I would like, or I think is modern times would even say is all right. But one thing I really do want to say is we know that there are approximately 1 million Americans whose ballots are already in through early voting. And Joe Biden nationally has about a 6-point lead, which is bigger and tighter than Hillary Clinton held at this point in the race when she was up against Trump. So, I mean, look, things are looking good. I know anything could happen, though. And so that's I don't know. I don't think debates are going to have any bearing on it, but I know that anything could happen. So we ought to stay posted, and we ought to see more of both of these men.
Okay, Avis, did Joe Biden win the debate last night? Was there a winner? A lot of people were offended by the fact that he told President Trump to shut up. What did you think about Biden last night?
I think that was the kindest thing he could have said. I think there were a lot of people, there were probably more people who were cheering him when he said shut up, because we wanted him to shut up. I mean, it was the rudeness that was displayed toward him. I think he showed great restraint. I think he definitely won the debate. The polls are showing that. Over 60% of Americans are suggesting that they believe that Biden won the debate. But if I could opine on your last question, I don't believe there should be any more debates. And the reason is not because I don't believe that Biden could win them. I think he could win them all. I think that that Trump presents a clear and present danger to this nation. I think he's not the president in chief. I think he's the radicalizer in chief. And if he's going to use that platform to radicalize a violent right-wing contingent in this nation, to specifically intimidate and potentially use violence against people at the polls, which that's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to use them to disrupt people who look like me, our access to the polls. He does not need to be given that platform. And further, he does not need to be given that platform because he is entirely undercutting the legitimacy of our democracy by spreading lies about the legitimacy of mail-in voting. He's trying to sort of spur this sort of lack of confidence in our democracy. For those two reasons, he does not deserve that platform. And I would hope that the Biden campaign tells him to go someplace else, because they will not give him the dignity of Joe Biden's time.
All right, we're out of time. I am so grateful for all of you joining me again today to discuss this. Avis Jones-DeWeever, Rena Shaw, Anita McBride. Again, we'll talk soon. Thank you so much.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.